Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
A talk show host goes dark. ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely following a flood of criticism over his comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr calling this decision a turning point. Listen.
This action today by Nexstar and Sinclair, frankly, it's unprecedented. I can't imagine another time when we've had local broadcasters tell what we call a national programmer like Disney that your content no longer meets the needs and the values of our community. So this is an important turning point. And frankly, speaking of that, obviously, Charlie Kirk set out to change the country, to change the culture, and the results of his work are continuing to produce results, and that's a good thing.
Really curious to know what this panel thinks about this. Lydia, I'm going to come your way first. There's some legal implications here. Brendan Carr is part of that. What stood out to you?
I mean, if by the legal implications, if you're asking about a First Amendment issue, I think there is no First Amendment issue here. Okay. This to me, I agree with President Trump. This seems to be a removal of the show strictly based on the ratings and the money. Here you have Nexstar, which owns several dozen local news stations across the country, servicing the local community in places like Kansas and Texas and Indiana and Ohio. I looked them up because I was curious where they are. We're talking about the heart of America, and they know what is going to resonate with their viewer, and they're basically saying, listen, Jimmy Kimmel is not what we want to deliver to our viewers. So they have every right to say, we're not going to deliver this programming. Jimmy Kimmel has a First Amendment right, but he doesn't have a right to be on your screen in your home every night if you don't want to listen to it. You can simply turn it off. And that's what Nexstar turned around and said to ABC, listen, if you guys don't do it, we're simply just not going to accept this programming anymore. And ABC, it seems to me, very wisely said, we're going to listen to that and we're going to take action.
Now, some on the other side of the argument are saying, well, Nexstar is trying to complete a merger with one of its other big television rivals. The FCC is the group that's going to approve or say, no, you can't do that. So some are arguing, well, they're just bending over backwards to appease Brendan Carr and the president to get this merger through. So it really is the administration kind of leaning on these guys. I don't know. What do you think of that, Jackie?
They could be. They could be. We don't know what they're going to do. It's a suspension. It's not permanent in a sense. Many people are speculating that when the merger does go through, somehow they find a way to put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. I'm not necessarily sure. You don't know what dealings are happening behind the scenes, but I will agree with Lydia that a business is a business. A business is there to generate profit. When your ratings come in and they're low, or the content that you're providing isn't resonating and those ratings are low, you're not making ad dollars. And so at a certain point, I mean, we saw this with Colbert also, and nobody wanted to sort of look at it that way at that time either. The content is not resonating in the United States of America anymore. People don't want to hear this. There's a reason in cable news, and I'm not tooting the Fox horn, the facts are the facts. Fox is #1, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that MSNBC and CNN are just plummeting in their ratings. It's because they've got fringe viewers who may still be watching, but that's a small group, and it doesn't compare to the zeitgeist of the rest of the country, what they believe, what they want to hear, and what they ascribe to. So all I see here is a business decision happening. We'll see what happens after said merger, if it goes through. If there's a Kimmel revival, then we can have that conversation.
Is it reverse cancel culture? The critics would say this is like the right just doing their own version of cancel culture. And they used to hate cancel culture until they're the cancelers.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I can see that, but I think it's more consequence culture right now. It morphed into that. I also think ABC is a little bit different because they're a broadcast network. They have a special license to act in the public interest. And Kimmel and some of these others are supposed to be funny. They're supposed to be comedy, and they got too political. They're not cable. And in the end, it might have been purely a business decision. I looked up the ratings. They're about, 1.7, 1.8 million for Kimmel. Gutfeld's got over 3 million. I don't know how many people are on his staff. I should have asked him, but I'm sure it's not union and it's not 150 plus like Kimmel has. And then you hear the unions, the Writers Guild, the Screen Actors Guild coming out and saying this is a bad move. This is against the First Amendment. You could also make the argument it's a business decision. The show is expensive,
Yeah.
ratings are down, and you have Sinclair and Nexstar saying this isn't what we want. And Sinclair went a step further. They are calling on Jimmy Kimmel to apologize, and they're also calling on Kimmel to donate to Charlie Kirk's family and Turning Point USA.
Can I just add to that, like you're saying, and like Lydia was saying, the platform is not guaranteed to him. He is now a citizen that doesn't work for a company. He can go say whatever he wants to say. And if those are his beliefs, then that's fine. I don't really think anybody, you can agree with it, you can disagree with it. That is actually what Charlie Kirk stood for. That anybody can say, as long as it's not, hateful or inciting violence, that it's not, we can disagree with each other. But he's not guaranteed the television platform to do that. That's on a contractual basis. That's on a business basis.
And at the time we're in right now, sorry.
No, go for it.
It's just everyone's at each other. It's time to take the temperature down. Words matter. So it's a very sensitive time.
I'll give you the final word, Katrina.
No, and I think this is not about free speech to me. This is just about spreading hate and just teaching our young generation to just value each other and be kind, even if you don't agree, which is what Charlie stood for. And I think we are seeing, Jackie, to your point, Fox is doing well because they're all about faith and family values and the conservative views, which is where we're getting back to. And I'm just extremely proud to see it firsthand. And there's been a revival now, unfortunately, as a result of Charlie's assassination. But I was even looking lastly about Erica has an app called Bible in 365. And I was looking at her numbers and it just skyrocketed. And so many of the comments there were saying, hey, I haven't been to church, in 10 years, but now I'm going back. And so you're seeing a revival.
A revival.